All right, welcome back. We're going to get you up and running as a developer in this video. Here's what's going on. I've got a small programming chore that I need to take care of this morning, and it's the perfect opportunity for me to show you my workflow and the tools that are available to you inside of the repo to assist you with code formatting, code linting, the unit test, all the shortcuts, and so on. And in addition, also how my workflow looks once I push my code to GitHub and create my pull request. So let's review the steps really quick. And let's start here. Commit merges in GitHub go in a fixed direction. You as a developer, you should create your own branch. I would suggest that you name that branch whatever your GitHub username is. That's guaranteed to be unique, and it's an easy way to keep everyone separated. And so what you're going to do is you're going to clone the repo and either create a brand new branch or refresh your branch by merging from main to your dev branch. And so that's our first two circles there. From there, you'll do your work and you'll push your code to GitHub. And when things are to your satisfaction, you'll create a pull request from your dev branch to the alpha branch. And then from there, the powers that be, like me, will take over, and your code will, over time, hopefully, if all goes well, snake its way from alpha to beta to next and eventually to main. And that will be an indeterminate pathway. And so effectively, once you've created your pull request and your unit test passed inside of GitHub, then your work's done. And just wait for it to make its way through the process to get onto the main branch. The first thing we want to do is see where we are. So we're on the alpha branch. And what I'm going to want to do is get over to the main branch, and it's always a good habit to run git pull right away just to make sure that you've got all of the commits since there's many people working on the project. Now we've done that, we want to get our own branch set up. So for me, my GitHub username is LPM0073. There we go. And now I'm going to get set up to be able to push that branch to GitHub. So that's all done. And so now when we check at the branches, that's where I am. Couple things before we get into the source code itself. In the previous video, we talked about the .env file. That's important because there's a Python path that is described in the .env file, and your local development environment needs that path in order to locate the smarter project inside of the repo. And so if you don't have that .env file, go back to the first video, check all that out, get yourself set up, and come back. All right, to work in development, we need Docker running. So I'm going to start Docker desktop that's here. And my image is already built from video number 1. And so all we have to do is get it fired up. And to do that, all we need to do is run, what do we run? Make Docker run, I think. Yeah. All right, good. And we are up and running. So to make sure that that's a true statement, I'll navigate in a browser just to make sure that I can run to the page. And I did, so we look good. All right. Now, a couple of more things before we go to work. There are some tools built into the repo that are intended to assist you in keeping your code formatted according to our standards, and to make it simpler for you to run unit tests and for you to lint your source code. And so these are all things that are in the make file. And so hitting those piece by piece. And so we have the projects running, and just so you know, the Docker environment is set up such that your local code is mounted into the Docker container that's running the app. And so it watches real time as you make changes to the source code, and it'll recompile itself on the fly. And so your browser will always be showing you the source code that you're working on right then, not whatever it was that you used to build the container. And so that's really helpful. Here's what we're going to do. First is if you've just cloned the repository, then as a setup measure, that one time you should run pre-commit init, I think. Yeah. And this is going to download a variety of pre-commit hooks and pull them down locally onto your computer. These will run every time that you try to commit your code. A couple of dozen different kinds of checks are going to execute. And so this is a first pass through your code base. It's going to get pre-commit set up, but it's also going to run pre-commit. And so it'll give you a chance to see as a baseline what your code looks like from the onset. And so you can see, for example, that here, when the hook named prettier ran, it did some minor reformatting to the changelog from something prior to us going to work. For good measure, if we run this again, this time we use a different command called make pre-commit run. This is going to run pre-commit again, and it should be clean. This is important for you to establish as a baseline before you go to work that you're going to be able to commit locally. Okay, so we're all good. So we've got a nice clean batch of pre-commit test, and so that's good. So when we do our work, the only delta is going to be our own changes. And so basically what we've established is that the pre-commit checks are going to pass for sure, except for any changes that we make in this coding exercise. All right, a couple more make things that are good to know are that there's a Python lint that incidentally, it's going to run these pre-commit tests again, but more importantly, it's going to run, let's see, isort, flake8, black, and pylint on the Python code. And it's going to run it on the entire code base, not just what you've changed. All right, our coding chore for today is we've got this environment variable. It's the Stripe bank card API secret key. And at the moment, it's short-circuiting our Pydantic configuration module that runs in front of Django. And so what we're going to do is that we have live and test. Great. We're going to take these and we're going to refactor the initialization of these by going over here to common, to configuration, and Stripe PQR. We're going to put those here like that. Okay, so we've finished our programming chore. We made a couple of additions to the Pydantic configuration, and then we made modifications to 3 of the Django settings modules in order to convert these OS environment getters to our Pydantic properties. So that's that, and so we're going to want to get this committed and pushed. But before we do that, I would like to show you how we can use these linters to our advantage. Let's say we're going to start with make Python lint. And the main thing this is going to do is run black. And so see here, so black did some minor reformatting of those two modules just now. This is examples of things that would prevent your commit from happening. And so if I clear my screen and try it one more time, we should get a clean lint, which suggests that we probably are going to be able to commit this without any problems. One other thing that we should do before we attempt to commit this code is run the unit test. And just make sure that we haven't done anything that's going to break our stuff. So the unit test, the best thing to do is to run them via Docker. And so there's a make command for that as follows. And this will run all the unit tests. You can see there, so there's 104 tests as of this video. And they take about 1 minute to run. Okay, so we've tested and we've linted, and our code looks okay. So let's see, where do we stand here? We've got those changes. I want to make extra sure I'm on the branch that I think I am. I'm on my developer branch, that's good. So I'm going to add these. Okay, last thing before we make this commit is that we use something that's called semantic commit comments. And this bears a tiny bit of explanation. So here in the documentation for the repository, there's this very brief README that explains our semantic versioning guide. This is kind of a standard with open source projects. Essentially, this is what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to prefix our git commit comment with one of these codes. And then we have a piece of JavaScript code that runs inside of GitHub on each commit that's going to look at these and then make automated decisions for us about what the next release semantic version needs to look like. And so, for example, if we have a major new feature and we indicate that by putting FEAT colon as a prefix in the comment, then that's going to create a minor version bump that's the second digit. So by semantic version, what I mean is like version 1.0.0. Major is the first digit, minor is the second, and I think patch is what they call the third. So if we include feet in a commit, that means that the next time that we release a software, it's going to increment the minor number by 1 digit. On the other hand, if we include the word fix colon, then it will increment the third digit, the patch, by 1 digit. And then all of these things here won't make any change at all to the version number. And as it happens, most of the commits that you make are one of those. All right, so that's what I'm referring to when I say that we need to follow these semantic rules. Okay, so in this case, this was just a minor refactoring. And so we're going to put refactor as our word and say that we moved push this to GitHub, and that is done. All right, and so that concludes this piece. Now we're going to go to GitHub and put together a pull request. And yeah, see you in a sec. Okay, here we are in GitHub. This is my new branch, and this nice handy dandy shortcut. All right, and so that is a fine title for a pull request because That's all it is. So we're doing this refactoring work, and we don't really need to add anything else. That's more than self-explanatory. All right, so here's our changes. So we've got these, everything looks fantastic. Great, all right. So let's do this. So we're gonna create this pull request. And then when I did that, that should initiate some automated actions, and here they are. And so those are going to appear in here. So we've got this thing called auto assign that's going to assign every pull request to someone like me. And then the pull request controller, this is worth taking a look at. All right, so what this does is the first job here is taking a look at those semantic rules that I was talking about. And then if it sees changes, then before it's going to allow those changes to move forward, those pre-commit tests are going to run again, but inside of GitHub using the GitHub Actions runners. And then if we get past those, it's going to initiate those same unit tests that we just ran. And so just word to the wise, in order for your pull request to make its way forward and be merged into the alpha branch, these are two checks that are going to need to pass. And if they don't, then you'll have to go through this process another time, and that would be embarrassing. So it's a good practice to go ahead and run those pre-commit tests yourself locally, which they do automatically anyway, so it's all fine. And but you should run the unit test locally as well, just for the peace of mind that that they're going to pass. All right, super. So our test passed. Let me show this to you again a different way. We're here. Yeah. All right. I wanted to bring to your attention that the unit tests take about 6 minutes, and the reason for that is that the remote server that runs this job creates an entire local development environment on an ephemeral worker node. And so what that means in practice is that it's cloning the repo, installing Docker on a clean Ubuntu instance, then building a Python virtual environment, building a node environment, building 5 Docker containers, including a Celery worker and a Celery beat, and MySQL and Redis, and then running the unit test on all of that. And so it's like the combination of video 1 and this video. And that's the reason that it takes a long time. Okay, let's go back to our pull request. Looks like we're ready to merge this. So here it is. And let's see. So just to double check everything, we're merging from my dev branch called LPM0073 to the alpha branch. That's important. Make sure you're not creating a pull request to main. We have our 2 commits that we did. And then here's what we've got in our checks. Let's see, no CI/CD to do. It's not a problem that it's got a red X next to it. So that is for build and deploy to Kubernetes, and that is not us. But once this is merged to alpha, that process will run. But you don't have to worry about that. These are the things that did just run. And we can see that the build and deploy, those are all getting skipped. And then we've got this other X here from Mergify. That's a work in progress, also not applicable to this pull request, so I don't need to worry about any of that. So we'll go ahead and merge this. Here we go, for merge. And that's it. All right, so we're all done. So my programming chore is complete. And that, I presume, has launched some more tasks. Yeah, so here, this background task is going to check for any changes to the semantic version, nothing you need to worry about. These pushes to main are work in progress, also nothing for you to worry about. And so we're all good. Great. Hope the video was helpful. Good luck.